It all started on a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind where nothing feels urgent, and the house carries that soft hum of comfort. The TV was off, the kitchen smelled like cinnamon tea, and the light coming through the window gave the living room a golden glow. I was flipping through an old photo album when I heard her footsteps behind me. Light, hesitant, like she wasn't sure if she should come closer or walk away. My stepdaughter, Lily, stood there holding a mug in her hands, her eyes quietly scanning the pictures before landing on one of her mother. Her real mom. We hadn't talked much lately. Not about real things anyway. Just the usual homework, dinner, laundry. But something was different in her face today. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad either. It was something in between, something she was trying hard to hold back. I didn't press. I just looked up and gave her a small smile, hoping she'd feel safe enough to speak. And then after a long pause she said it. Quietly. Almost like she was talking to herself. Mom wouldn't understand us anyway. It hit me harder than I expected. Not just the words but the way she said them. Like she'd been carrying them around for a while. Like this wasn't the first time she'd thought it. Just the first time she'd let it slip out loud. My mind started racing. What did she mean by us? Was she talking about me and her? Or was there something else she was hinting at? I didn't know how to respond. Do I ask? Do I give her space? Do I pretend I didn't hear it and go back to the photo album? But in that moment I realized this wasn't about having the perfect answer. It was about being present enough to hear what she wasn't saying out loud. Because behind those 6 simple words was a whole world she was still too unsure to explain. Lily was never the kind of girl to open up easily. After her mom passed away, the walls around her only grew thicker. I came into her life later, married her father, and did my best to be whatever she needed. A friend, a listener, a silent supporter. But being a stepmom is never simple. There are boundaries, memories, grief, and loyalties you have to respect, no matter how much love you have to give. So when she said what she said, it didn't just feel like a statement. Felt like an invitation. A crack in the door she'd kept closed for so long. Something was brewing, something she hadn't shared with anyone, and she wasn't sure if I could handle it, or if I should even be the one she talked to. I looked at her, trying to read between the lines of her expression. There was so much she wanted to say, I could tell. But before I could speak, she turned around and started walking toward the stairs. She paused halfway up, glanced back for a second, then kept going without another word. And that's where it all began. One quiet sentence that would unravel everything I thought I understood about my place in her life, and in hers. I sat there for a few moments longer, still staring at the staircase where Lily had disappeared. Her words echoed in my head like a soft whisper I couldn't silence. Asterisk, Mom wouldn't understand us anyway. Asterisk, it kept playing over and over, and the more I thought about it, the more questions it raised. What did she mean by us? Was there someone else involved? Was she talking about me and her father? Or was she keeping something even bigger hidden? That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's face. The way she looked torn between wanting to speak and being afraid to say too much. Being her stepmom hadn't always been easy, but I'd grown to care about her more than I ever expected. She was smart, independent, and more sensitive than she let on. But since her mother passed, she had learned to hide her feelings well. She didn't cry in front of anyone. She kept her room like a vault. Even her smiles were guarded. The next morning, things felt tense at breakfast. She came downstairs already dressed, hair tied back in that quick, no-fuss ponytail she always wore. She gave a faint good morning, grabbed a piece of toast, and avoided my eyes completely. Her dad had already left for work, so it was just the two of us. The silence between us wasn't hostile, it was just careful. I tried not to push her. I asked about school, her weekend plans, whether she needed anything from the store. She answered everything politely, but her eyes kept drifting away, like she was somewhere else entirely. I wanted to bring up what she said the day before, but something told me not yet. Whatever she was dealing with, she needed to feel like she could trust me before opening that door again. Later that day, I went into her room to drop off some clean laundry. Normally I wouldn't have lingered, but something caught my eye. Her desk had a bunch of papers spread across it. Some drawings, some scribbled notes, and what looked like a torn journal page. I didn't want to invade her space, but I couldn't help noticing the words at the top of one page. She wouldn't get it, and that's why I stopped trying. My chest tightened. Was she writing about me? Or about her mom? Or someone else entirely? I left the laundry, gently closed her door, and walked out with more questions than I had walked in with. Whatever Lily was keeping to herself, it wasn't just teenage mood swings. There was a weight to her silence, like she was carrying something she didn't know how to unload. And maybe the hardest part was realizing she might not think I was strong enough to carry it with her. That I might not be the person she wanted to lean on. But if she didn't trust me, who did she trust? And what was this thing between us she thought her mom would never understand? Something was coming. I could feel it. That afternoon, I sat on the porch steps, the same ones Lily used to sit on with her sketchbook when she first moved in. Back then, she'd barely speak unless spoken to, but there was always this quiet thoughtfulness in her. I remember once seeing her draw a robin, perfectly detailed, and when I complimented it, she shrugged and said, "Birds don't need to explain themselves. They just fly." I didn't get it at the time. Now I think I'm starting to. Hours passed, but I couldn't stop wondering what she had meant. That journal page, her distant eyes, the way she hesitated on the stairs. None of it felt random. Something was on her chest, something she hadn't told anyone. I thought about calling her dad, maybe even telling him about the strange feeling I had, but I didn't. Not yet. I didn't want to break a trust that hadn't even been built yet. Around dinner, Lily stayed in her room. I knocked gently and asked if she was hungry. She said she wasn't, voice flat and distant. I didn't push. Instead, I left a plate outside her door just in case. It stayed untouched for hours. That night, while cleaning up, I found her phone on the kitchen counter. It buzzed twice. I didn't mean to look, but the screen lit up with a preview message. A name I didn't recognize. Just one line, asterisk, "Did you tell her yet?" Asterisk, my stomach turned. I walked away, heart racing. Who was asking her that? And what was she supposed to tell me? Was she in trouble? Was someone pressuring her? I hated how my mind jumped to worst-case scenarios, but I couldn't help it. I remembered a few weeks ago she had come home with a bruise on her arm and said she tripped during gym. I didn't think much of it then. Now I wasn't so sure. Later, after the house went quiet, I heard movement in her room. Soft pacing, then her door creaked open. I stayed still in the hallway, barely breathing. Her shadow moved toward the stairs, and I followed just a few steps behind. She went out to the porch and sat down, knees pulled to her chest, head down. I finally stepped outside. She looked up, startled, but didn't tell me to leave. That was something. I sat beside her, not saying anything at first. We just stared out into the night. Then she whispered, "There's stuff I haven't told you." Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know if you'd still look at me the same. Her voice cracked a little, and I felt the pull to reach out and comfort her, but I held back. She was opening the door again just slightly, and I didn't want to slam it shut by reacting too soon. "Is it about that message?" I asked gently. She stiffened, caught off guard. "You saw it." I nodded slowly. She looked away, then whispered, "It's not what you think, but it's also not nothing." And with that, she went silent again, staring into the darkness like she was trying to find the words out there somewhere. Lily sat there in silence, the porch light barely brushing the side of her face. Her fingers were curled tightly in her sleeves, like she was holding on to herself to keep from falling. Mom told me she left something behind, something meant for me. But after she died, I couldn't go looking for it. Felt too big. Too painful. I didn't know what to say. Letters? Hidden away all this time? She stood up then, suddenly filled with urgency, and motioned for me to follow. We climbed the creaky attic stairs together, the air thick with dust and the weight of everything left unsaid. She found the old trunk tucked behind boxes of Christmas lights and school projects. Her hands trembled as she unlatched it. Inside were stacks of envelopes, all addressed in her mother's handwriting. Some were marked by dates. Others just said things like "for when you're angry" or "when you feel alone." Lily picked one labeled "when you feel like no one understands you." She sat cross-legged on the floor and opened it slowly. Her mother's words poured out, soft, loving, and startlingly aware. She wrote about the fears she knew Lily would carry, the confusion, the anger. And most of all, she wrote about love. Not just her love as a mother, but her hope that Lily would someday find a connection strong enough to help her keep going. "She knew I'd struggle," Lily whispered. "She knew I'd push people away, even you." I knelt beside her and placed my hand gently over hers. "She also knew you'd need someone. And maybe she knew I'd be here too." Lily leaned her head on my shoulder, and for the first time, it felt like something in her finally let go. The distance, the tension, the weight of keeping it all inside, it started to lift. But just when I thought the answers were all in front of us, Lily reached deeper into the box. At the bottom was one envelope unlike the others. No name, just a single sentence written across it. "If someone else finds this, tell the truth," she froze. I've never seen this one before. We stared at it together, heartbeats rising again. Because this letter wasn't meant for her. It wasn't meant for either of us. And suddenly we both knew. The story wasn't over yet. Lily held the letter in her lap like it was something fragile and alive. The attic was silent, except for the soft creak of the floorboards beneath us and the wind pressing gently against the old windows. She looked at me, unsure, her fingers resting on the edge of the sealed envelope. I gave a small nod, letting her know she didn't have to open it alone. With a deep breath, she tore it open, carefully unfolding the single sheet inside. Her eyes scanned the page, slowly at first, then faster. She didn't say a word for a long time. When she finally looked up at me, her face was pale but calm. "It's a letter Mom wrote. But not to me. It's to Dad." My heart skipped. "What does it say?" Lily swallowed. She knew about the affair. Before she died, she found out he had been seeing someone else. She never told anyone. Not even him. She didn't want it to change how I saw him. She just kept it to herself. I sat back, stunned. That was the twist we never expected. I felt a wave of confusion, sympathy, and sadness all at once. This whole time, Lily had been carrying around so much, thinking her mom wouldn't understand what she was going through. But her mother had been protecting her in silence, even from the truth. Lily folded the letter again and placed it back in the box. "She wanted whoever found it to decide whether or not to tell him," she said softly. "But I don't think I need to. I just needed to know she understood more than I ever gave her credit for." We sat in the attic for a long time, not saying much, just letting the weight of everything settle. The tension between us had shifted. Lily had opened a part of herself I wasn't sure she ever would. And I finally understood that her distance hadn't been about me, not really. It had been about fear, about grief, about trying to protect herself from being hurt again. That night we went back downstairs and watched an old movie together. Something she and her mom used to watch. She even smiled a little, and for the first time in a long time it felt real. There was still pain, yes. Still questions, still memories that would never fully fade. But there was also a kind of quiet beginning between us. Over the next few weeks, Lily started spending more time outside her room. She opened up more, not all at once but in small meaningful ways. We cooked together, walked the dog, even started organizing her mom's old boxes. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And maybe that's the thing. Healing doesn't always come with big speeches or perfect timing. Sometimes it comes in a quiet attic, with an unexpected letter, and a moment of honesty that opens the door to something new. Because in the end, Lily was right. Her mom wouldn't have understood us the way we were in that moment. But she would have been proud of how we found our way through it together.